Video games were naturally created to bring joy and fun to its players. However, the game which we describe as the Seventh Door, codename SCP-4054, is not one that should be taken lightly. My name is Detective Nicolette, and recently my informant within the SCP Foundation sent me some raw data on one of their recent entries, which is what I'm going to be talking about today. SCP-4054, also known as the Seventh Door, was created as an unlicensed platform adventure game, which in the year 1988 was released for Nintendo Entertainment, and it belongs to the safe class. The bizarre nature of this console comes in multiple forms. First, the contents of each cartridge seems to over-succeed even storage limits of its read-only memory, ROM. And second, to make matters worse, no device currently made can store the data files that was extracted from SCP-4054's PRG-ROM. However, from the data I have with me, it would seem that it does have a special containment procedures, and it included the use of 3 NES-1 consoles, which are reverse engineered to run SCP-4054 for testing purposes. Other directories include storing it in a secured locker on site, with only level 3 personnel and above having access to it. Further instructions were passed to Foundation agents with the sole aim of monitoring flea markets, yard sales, and property auctions in case of any anomalous activity with close resemblance to that of subject SCP-4054. And as such, NES cartridges are suspected of being copies are to be purchased for an immediate examination. The SCP Foundation even went on to make use of a bot called the IO Sauron as a means to monitor the online gaming community in search of any information or discussions regarding the possible existence of SCP-4054. And if such a conversation were to arise, a joint operation between the MTF-Mu4 debuggers and MTF-Gamma5 red herrings is to be conducted simply to check these discussions and determine if the participants are in any way aware of the existence of case subject SCP-4054. And in the event that the participants know or have something related to SCP-4054, the SCP agents are tasked with recovering all of the copies and also to take immediate actions in discrediting the existence of SCP-4054, either as a hoax or a possible urban legend. Furthermore, the agents were also tasked with removing and/or replacing any screen captures or videos of SCP-4054 and replacing them with a doctored image in order to further manipulate the narrative. Okay, let's pause there for a second and talk about how this game came to be in the first place. But don't worry, I'll also talk about the game itself, but that's something for later. But right now, after looking more into the data of SCP-4054, I couldn't believe some of the information I was getting, like how valuable it is to the vintage NES collectors. Well, I can say that they definitely do not know what the game actually is. But yes, it is a very rare game, mostly because it had a limited publication, with a total production of only 300 units, not to mention the fact that it cannot be copied, and it was also in an incomplete state overall. Another key point that caught my eyes was the game's unique ability to bypass the North American version of the 10 NES lockout system. For now, there is no real data on how or why it can do that, but as a guess, I'd say it was supposed to be a means of ensuring that Nintendo had full control over their game. The secret to SCP-4054's unique ability is in the cartridge. Each of SCP-4054's cartridge contains 2 transistors, which in a way functions as a voltage inverter. When these transistors are activated, the component produces a spike in the voltage of the console that can temporarily disable earlier versions of the console's CIC, which simply means that SCP SCP-4054 could bypass the authentication lock put forward by Nintendo, and by doing so, makes an unlicensed cartridge to run. Although later models did have a more secured measure put in place to prevent this. Prior to its completion, the seventh door was shipped, and as a consequence to this early shipment, most of its core components in its gameplay differs greatly from what it was originally designed to be, at least according to what we were told on the manual embarked. My informant, as usual, managed to collect some data and even got to see what the gameplay is like when some Class 5 SCP scientists were testing it out themselves. And after looking through the data of the game, I do have a brief summary of how it is. The protagonist of the game has no extra lives, and he will lose all of his progress once he dies. The cartridge restarts on its own. All power-ups mentioned in the manual don't exist in the game, except one. The Hand of Glory, which is a power-up that prevents all monsters and platforms from moving for a 10 seconds duration. All monsters within the game are absent. If the protagonist were to fall into a pit, the fall won't kill him. Rather, the protagonist will continue to fall off screen, even as the game over sound loops. Some memory overflow errors can periodically cause sprites to incorrectly load. The prisoners of the game make use of the protagonist's sprite instead of their own. After unlocking a prisoner's door, they do not provide any clue regarding where the other keys are hidden, because their text box are empty. The protagonist apparently dies at random intervals, basically after a period of remaining still. This situation occurs irrespective of if the game was paused or not. Presently, the SCP Foundation researchers have found out that there are quite a few lot of levels, hundreds, even which are beyond the 7th level, which was described in the manual as the final level. And the manual also contains the location of the 7th key, although the exact number of these additional levels, which are supposedly beyond the 7th door, has not yet been determined. But according to its data, it is reported that they over-exceed the storage capacity of the cartridge's original ROM chip size. It is also worth noting that the 7th level of the subject, SCP-4054, does not contain the 7th key. Was that a glitch? An intentional play by the makers, or the result of some kind of possession by a supernatural entity? Well, I'm pretty sure the story I'm about to tell you now could give you some answers to the question. In the year 2004, Charles Rogers, who was an amateur NES cartridge collector under the username InkKai49, posted a thread on www.opening-the-7th-door.int, which at the same time was a forum with full dedication on the 7th door. In this thread, he suggested making use of an NES game Genie 6 with the intention of directly setting the value associated with the protagonist's number of keys to 7. And several days later, Mr. Rogers posted a link which led to an online video stream where he wanted to make use of this exploit to beat the 7th door. Partway through his gameplay, the video abruptly stopped, and it was very likely that it was Mr. Rogers who stopped it. And after a follow-up investigation, authorities concluded that Mr. Rogers had gone missing, but had their suspicion on some kind of foul play after they discovered several torn fingernails of Mr. Rogers' left hand inside his NES console. The SCP Foundation has linked nothing less than 25 mysterious disappearances to case subject SCP-4054, and it still remains under investigation. My intentions right now are simple. Get a copy of SCP-4054 for myself and investigate this issue firsthand, because I would like to confirm if Mr. Rogers' abrupt end to his live stream was a result of some kind of supernatural force, or if the SCP Foundation had something to do with it. I am drawing my conclusion to this because of the joint operation between MTF Mu-4 and MTF Gamma-5. It could be that at the time, the SCP SCP got knowledge of Mr. Rogers' intentions with the help of the IO Sauron through his public stream link, and the SCP Joint Task Force immediately went on site and eliminated Mr. Rogers and took all traces of SCP-4054 with them. I can't be sure if this is the case, but I plan to get to the bottom of it, and I could use your help in this investigation. So, do you think my theories are right? Please let me know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel if you wish to follow the investigation into some of the SCP Foundation's test subjects. And as always, thanks for watching.